Hi everybody, this is Dietra, Beatty, and what I'm going to do today is I want you to kind of see this. It's the 107th Congress of the United States of America. It is a resolution honoring an American legend and musical icon, Michael Jackson. So this is proof of everything that Michael accomplished in his life to help this world, and he did it even when we put him down, and he still cared and helped the world. So this is the front, and this is the back. And remind you again, it's an honorary of an American legend and musical icon in the House of Representatives. At first, whereas Michael Jackson was not only an accomplished recording and performing artist, he was a noted humanitarian. Whereas Michael Jackson began his stellar recording career as a featured member of the Jackson 5, which was the first to act in recording history to have their first major labels, I Want You Back, ABC, The Love You Save, and I'll Be There, reached to the top of America's charts. Whereas an internationally recognized Thriller, released in 1982, which became a smash hit, yielded 7 top 10 single albums. The album sold 21 million copies in the United States and at least 27 million worldwide. It was a monumental moment in music history. Whereas Michael Jackson was labeled the King of Pop, Jackson's music is internationally recognized and critically acclaimed. Whereas Michael Jackson was one of the few artists who have been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice. Whereas in the early 1980s, Michael Jackson became a dominant figure in popular music and first African American entertainer to amaze a strong crossover following on MTV. The popularity of its music videos airing on MTV, such as the Beat It, Billie Jean, Thriller, widely credited was transforming the music video into a promotional tool into the art from help bring to relatively new to fame. Whereas on January 10th, 1984, Michael Jackson visited the unit for burn victims at the Brotman Memorial in Los Angeles and demonstrated his concerns with the people suffering with grieving injuries. Whereas on April 9th, 1984, David Smithy, a 14-year-old boy suffering from cystic fibrosis, was invited to Michael's home. In response to a daytime request to meet Michael, David passed away 7 weeks later. Whereas on April 14th, 1984, Michael was single-handedly responsible for equipping a 19-bed unit at Mount Sinai, New York Medical Center. The center is now a critical part of the T.J. Martyr Foundation for Leukemia and Cancer Research. Whereas on July 5th, 1984, during the Jackson's press conference at the Tavern on the Green, Michael announces that this portion of his earnings from the Victory Tour will be donated to 3 charitable organizations: the United Negro College Fund, Camp Good Times, and T.J. Martell Foundation. Whereas on July 14th, 1984, after the first concert of the Victory Tour, Michael met 8 terminally ill children backstage. Whereas on December 13th, 1984, Michael visited Brotman Memorial Hospital, where he had been treated when he was burned during producing of a Pepsi commercial. He subsequently donated all the money he received from Pepsi, $1.5 million, to the Michael Jackson Burn Center for Children. Whereas on January 28th, 1985, Michael and 44 other artists met to record We Are the World, written by Michael Jackson and Lionel Richie, a project devoted to fighting global hunger. These proceeds of this record were donated to the starving people in Africa. Whereas in 1986, Michael set up the Michael Jackson UNCF Endowed Scholarship Fund. This $1.5 million fund is to aim towards assisting the students majoring in performing arts and communications, with money given each year to a student attending the UNCF membership college or university. Whereas on February 28, 1986, after having a heart transplant, 14-year-old Donna Ashcroft from California received a phone call from Michael Jackson. He had heard that she was a fan. Michael invited Donna to his home following her recovery. Whereas on September the 13th, 1987, Michael supported a campaign against racism. He made every effort to publicly support NAACP in the fight against discrimination of African American artists. Whereas October 1987, at the end of the Bad Tour, Michael donated personal items to UNESCO for a charitable auction. These proceeds of donations were allocated to education of children in developing countries. Whereas on February 1st, 1988, the song Man in the Mirror entered the church. The proceeds from the sale of this record went directly and exclusively to Camp Ronald McDonald for Good Times, a camp for children who suffer from cancer. Whereas on March 1st, 1988, at a press conference held by sponsor Pepsi, Michael Jackson presented a $600,000 check to the United Negro College Fund. Whereas on April 1988, Michael Jackson ensured that free tickets to 3 concerts in Atlanta, Georgia were specifically set aside to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Whereas May 22nd, 1988, Michael visited the cancer-stricken children in Bambino Children's Hospital, in Rome. He signed autographs and gave away sweets and records to young patients. He also announced his monetary donation of £100,000 to the hospital. Whereas on July 16, 1988, Michael met the Princess of Wales and his wife Diana, where he donated £150,000 for the Princess Trust and a check of £100,000 for the Children's Hospital at Great Ormond Street. Whereas July 20th, 1988, Michael visited terminally ill children at Grand Ormond Street Hospital. At a unit for less critical patients, he stayed longer in to engage in storytelling time with the children. Whereas in August 29th, 1988, at his 30th birthday, Michael performed a concert in Leeds, England, for English charity organization Give for Life, an organization designed as an immunization charity for children. Michael presented a check for £65,000, and it was on his birthday. That's right. Whereas January 1989, the proceeds of one of Michael's shows in Los Angeles were donated to Child Help USA, the biggest charity organization against child abuse. In appreciation of the contributions of Michael's Child Help of Southern California founded the Michael Jackson International Institute for Research on Child Abuse. Whereas on January 10th, 1989, upon the winding down of his Bad Tour, Michael Jackson donated tickets for each concert to underprivileged children and made contributions to the hospital, orphanages, and charity organizations throughout each of his tours. Whereas on February 7th, 1989, Michael visited the Cleveland Elementary School in Stockton, California, a site of playground violence where 5 children were tragically killed and 39 had been wounded. Whereas on March 5th, 1989, Michael invited 200 underprivileged children of the St. Vincent Institute for Handicapped Children and the organization Big Brothers and Big Sisters to the Circus Vargas in Santa Barbara. Following the event, the children were invited to his ranch to visit the private zoo at Neverland Ranch. Whereas in December 1991, Michael's office, MJJ Productions, donated more than 200 turkey dinners to needy families in Los Angeles. Whereas in February 1992, within 11 days coverage 30,000 miles in Africa to visit hospital, orphanage schools, churches, and institutions for mentally handicapped children. Whereas on February the 3rd, 1992, a press conference at the New York Radio City Hall of Fame, Michael announced that he is planning a new world tour to raise funds for his new Heal the World Foundation. This foundation was designed to support against AIDS, juvenile diabetes, the Ronald McDonald Camp, and the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Whereas on May 6, 1992, Michael defrayed the funeral expenses for Raymond Sanchez, who was killed during the Los Angeles riots. Whereas on June 26, 1992, Michael presented the mayor of Munich, Mr. Kronenberger, with a 40,000 DM check for the people of the city. Whereas on July 1992, Michael donated $821,477,296 lire to La Patera del Cura. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce all the names. The Heart Match in Rome, and donated 120 DM to children's charities in Estonia and Latvia. Where on July 25th, 1992, at his concert in Dublin, Ireland, Michael announced that he will give £400,000 of tour earnings to various charities. Whereas in 1993, Michael announced a donation of $1.25 million for the children suffering results of the riots in Los Angeles. Whereas on October 1993, Michael Jackson donated $100,000 to the Children's Defense Fund, the Children's Diabetes Foundation, the Atlanta Project, and the Boys and Girls Club of Newark, New Jersey. Whereas on December 1993, in conjunction with Gorbachev Foundation, Michael Jackson airlifted 60,000 doses of children vaccines to Tbilisi, Georgia. I hope I said that somewhat right. Sorry. Whereas in 1994, Michael Jackson donated $500,000 to the Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation. Whereas on October 1st, 1996, Michael donated the proceeds of his Tunisia concert to the National Solitary Fund of charity dedicated to fighting poverty. Whereas December 9th, 1996, during the History Tour in Manila, Michael visited Children's Hospital, where he announced that portion of his concert earnings will be donated to renovate the hospital. Whereas the Millennium issue of the Guinness Book of Records named Michael Jackson as the pop star who supports the most charitable organizations. Whereas in 2004, the African Ambassador Spouses Association honored Michael Jackson for his worldwide humanitarian efforts through his fiscal contribution of more than $50 million to various charities, including many organizations that feed the hungry in Africa. And whereas we today mourn with and send our condolences to the children that Michael Jackson left behind. Prince Michael, Paris Michael, and Prince Michael II, and his mother, father, brothers, and sisters. Now, therefore, be it hunger and medical crisis, and celebrates Michael Jackson as an accomplished contributor to the world of arts and entertainment, scientific advance treatment of HIV, AIDS, and the global food security. So, for all you people that still want to put Michael down and don't believe in him, I'd like you to show me or tell me one person who's done this, who's done everything that I just read off. I'm going to do my part, and I'm going to help make a change. I love you guys all around the world, and I wanted everybody to know this knowledge about Michael, that he was worth more. Also, what he did on the side of his music. I love you guys all over the world.